This week, Trump named Bill Pulte, the head of the Federal Housing Finance Agency, as acting director of national intelligence after Tulsi Gabbard's resignation, even though Pulte has no known intelligence background and will reportedly keep his housing finance role at the same time. While the inability to afford housing is one of the biggest drivers of the affordability crisis, kind of seems like a full-time job. Matt, to me, the story here is Trump giving huge critical jobs to absolutely unqualified political hacks who probably have a bright future in prison. Republican senators are grumbling, but are they going to actually do something about it?
Everyone is looking at the Pulte thing wrong. They get caught up on his qualifications, but that's not the right way to look at this. Trump had too many cabinet officials in his first term that did silly things like, I don't know, follow the Constitution or recuse themselves when there were obvious problems. Bondi wasn't doing enough to go after political opponents. That's why she got fired. Trump is not going to make that mistake again. Acting officials is his vetting process. He has 210 days to make sure they are 100% loyal to him, and they must prove that. Look at what happened to Attorney General. Todd Blanche passed the audition. The Comey indictment, the IRS immunity deal that prohibits government from going after the Trump family or his eldest sons, that sealed the deal. And let's face it, Trump is on a race against the clock. He's almost 80. Democrats are going to win the midterms. And when they do, his whole world changes. This is a win-win. Qualifications just simply don't matter to him right now.
This is a giant middle finger to the American people. Right now, you need about $117,000 a year in order to be able to afford the typical home in America. That's about $29,000 more than the typical household earns. Bill Pulte is the guy in charge for Trump of trying to fix that. And he's giving him the job of being in charge of intelligence, which is about protecting America by knowing in advance what our enemies are trying to do to us. Imagine that you work for the CIA, the NSA, military intelligence. What message does this send to you? It says, I don't care about the job you do. I don't take you seriously. I don't take protecting America seriously. This is an absolute affront. This reminds me of that 1975 Daily News headline, Ford to City, drop dead. This is Trump saying to America, drop dead. I don't care.
One of our favorite former members of Congress, George Santos, is back in the news this week because he is being investigated for betting on himself in Congress. And this week, we also learned that multiple senior Trump officials who hold stakes in companies stand to benefit from government decisions. Washington isn't just making the rules. Increasingly, it's trading on the outcome. Washington used to be Hollywood for ugly people. Now it's Wall Street with campaign signs.
First of all, I worked in Washington for a long time. What are you saying about me? No, don't answer that. Look, George Santos is the idiot who got caught. We knew he was an idiot. And lo and behold, he got caught. It's happened before, but he's far from an isolated story. You titled this Casino Washington, which I think is brilliant. Also, in light of the whole no kings problem we're having with our current president, you could have called it Casino Royale. It's a real Royale with cheese when it comes to Trump. I think this is more about insiders turning Washington into an ATM. They're treating it as a money-making opportunity, like Trump is treating the entire federal government. And what the rest of the government is seeing from his example is he's cashing in. Why shouldn't I cash in too? That's the Santos story. Even a partisan figure like James Comer is starting to wake up and say, we've got a problem here. He announced a formal investigation into Kalshi and Poly Market over concerns that users may be profiting from non-public military information. You think, James? Do you think?
We spent all those years talking about Nancy Pelosi's stock trades. We were told it's outrageous that politicians and their families would get rich while serving government and that Washington was rigged. We're told insiders were playing by different rules. What strikes me about this is that now it's just so much in the open. It just feels so corrupt right now. And Republicans, we campaigned on it. And now we completely turned our back on it just because it seems to be our guys. It's despicable. It shouldn't be happening at all.
Who killed CBS? the news this week that CBS had fired, and by CBS, Barry Weiss, longtime 60 Minutes correspondent Scott Pelley, after he publicly accused network leadership of murdering the program and undermining its journalism, sent shockwaves through media circles and political circles. This came, of course, after other senior 60 Minutes exits, Paramount's settlement with Trump, Colbert's cancellation, and open revolts from CBS News veterans. There is a case, though. As Michael Corleone said, it's just business. This is just a change in the business model. I personally call BS on that. But it's possible that I'm having a little bit of Democrats' bias to this.
60 Minutes has been struggling since Dan Rather produced fake documents on George W. Bush. For Republicans, the only time we ever watch 60 Minutes is if we forgot to change the channel after whatever we're watching on CBS on Sunday anyway. It's a business model that continues to struggle. We talked about this with Colbert. We talked about this with late night television. It's changing. It's adjusting. But this has 100% also to do with Trump. This is the era in which we live.
I was worried you weren't going to say that, and I was about to come after you. Okay, all right. We're on the same page.
Yes, it is 100% due with Trump. They threaten FCC license. Let's not forget about the mergers and the business side. You're going to have more CBS anchors who are going to leave. The one thing Pelley really said that should alarm everyone is that they were trying to insert themselves and put in sources that were not true. And that's what makes it easy to call this fake news and be able to attack it and not trust what we see with our own two eyes.
I think that the first thing you said about a changing business model in media is true. Have there been mistakes 25 years ago at CBS News? Sure. Have there been more recent mistakes? Probably. These are fig leaves. They are convenient excuses. I don't buy for a second that there wasn't a viable money-making approach to keeping Colbert on the air or keeping the veteran journalist Scott Pelley. This is all about Barry Weiss at the direction of Larry Ellison kowtowing to Trump for corporate profit. The news be damned.
I don't know if you know this. We are 14 weeks into the war with Iran, and maybe we're on the verge of ending it. I honestly have no idea. Because in March, Trump said Iran is begging to make a deal. Since then, I've heard they want peace. There's a very good chance of a deal. And we're having really good discussions. Meanwhile, missiles are flying. Rubio's on Capitol Hill this week trying to convince Congress that the administration is making progress. Trump had a call with Netanyahu where he called him fucking crazy and everybody hates you now. And now the House has voted to block Donald Trump from further attacks on Iran. Senate still has to vote. Trump's going to veto it. Trump was sold as the world's greatest negotiator, but every piece of evidence suggests he's actually very bad at this.
I'll start with the last part first, this House vote to remove war powers from Trump here and to stop the conflict with Iran. This is a pot that has been boiling, and now the lid is beginning to fly off. What's in the pot is the increasing cost of key inputs to the economy because of the chokehold that Iran has imposed on shipping lanes in the Strait of Hormuz. The dirty secret is the inventory levels that are running down for oil, for fertilizer inputs, for the kinds of things that are going to cause a ticking price bomb in our economy. We're between 6 and 9 months away from an explosion in prices because we will have run out of those key inventories. And even if you open up that chokehold right now, you still have to backfill. It takes months and months. The process of getting the oil out of the ground, through the strait, over here, refined to gas pumps. So the point is, we can't avoid the price bomb at this point. This is going to get worse before it gets better. That's why you saw this vote, because if you're a House Republican and you're staring down the barrel of a price bomb going off right around Election Day, you've got to pull the ripcord on this.
Trump's superpower has always been he can control the narrative. The problem he has right now with this war is he can't. No matter how many times he says this thing is over, it's not. And all the economic realities that you just talked about are coming to play. Americans are feeling them every day. And that's why this war is incredibly unpopular and why the House took that vote. And I suspect the Senate will do the same.
This week, Trump signed a new AI executive order after first killing an earlier version because he was worried, he said, that it might slow down America's race for AI against China. That reversal captures the whole AI debate going on right now. Washington is trying to regulate the models that are powerful enough to matter for cybersecurity and the future of warfare and the economy, while also fearing that the regulation itself could cost the US that global economic race. At the same time, influential senators like Elizabeth Warren are getting in on the act and saying, we're not doing nearly enough. She's calling for some form of an AI tax. AI companies are getting in on politics by spending heavily at the state level to influence elections where they can overwhelm races with dollars and get their chosen candidates who won't impose more regulation. So the point is, there's a race against time to get some kind of a policy, some kind of a direction on AI.
Of course, Elizabeth Warren wants to tax something. That's her go-to move on everything. But I think the thing I see is that the people most afraid of AI are the people closest to power. Everybody assumes government will control AI, but what happens if AI starts to control government? Not Terminator stuff, but politics. Imagine AI rights legislation. What I find very interesting is how fast this is growing and how much an aging Congress and an aging president don't fully understand the ramifications of what they're doing. It's the same problem they had with the internet, same problem they have with social media.
The AI companies are winning the war at the state level to influence who emerges from those races. They haven't yet won the war at the federal level. This may be one of the last elections where they're not dominant in that war and where there are enough open-minded members of Congress to actually do something. The clock is ticking. There's no way that the most economically significant, culturally significant, societally significant technology ever potentially should not have some form of government oversight and influence, some kind of guardrails around it.